I watched until like the last season of Vampire Diaries, and then Elena left and I got bored.
But I know that some of the stuff on the inside of the house is like very similar to the Salvatore house in the Vampire Diaries as well. That all happens. Sam saves her life. Susan's like, I need a drink, and Sam and Dean just decided they're gonna give Susan the ghost talk, but like super quickly. They're like, okay, we don't really have a lot of time. We're just gonna speed run.
Also, what fucking killed me about that part was that, like, you just saw your car start by itself and try to hit you. The swings were moving on their own. The seesaw was moving on its own.
What else do you need to see?
The thing was, and she was like, you guys are crazy. I was like, what do you mean? Like,
you witnessed it.
You saw it with your two eyeballs. Like, you watched it happen. Like, what are you talking about? What do you mean they're crazy? Yeah. Don't gaslight them. Less gaslight, more gatekeep, girl boss. Out of you, Susan. I don't want to deal with it.
The new theory is that Rose was warding off whatever ghost is here with hoodoo, but then she had a stroke and now they're just being haunted. Sam tells Susan she needs to get her mother, her employees, and her daughters out of here, and Susan interrupts and she's like, I only have one daughter. Maggie is my daughter's imaginary friend. And they're immediately like, oh no.
They're like, oh.
We have
like,
fucked
bitch,
up.
how did you not realize? I can't.
We just told you your house was haunted and you were me. I thought wasn't my daughter's imaginary friend.
Yeah, like, I can't.
I actually looked a couple times, like in a scene where like I went back and looked where Tyler ran through the lobby and like pushed Sam. I like went back and I looked to see like where Maggie was.
She was like far behind Sam.
I was just like, did she come close enough to Sam that like she would have impacted? I was like, hey, no, she was there, but she didn't touch Sam. He just saw Tyler.
And she only yelled out they only saw Tyler, and Susan only yelled out Tyler, like scolding Tyler. So he probably thought that Tyler was the only one in the room, and Maggie must be somewhere else.
Yeah,
like,
either she was running to or from Maggie. She had reached their room, or she'd already been there before they came in, which is a reasonable assumption to make. But anyway, we then see poor Grandma Rose and Maggie together. Maggie says Tyler's staying with her forever. There's nothing anyone can do about it. And Tyler comes in and she's like, Maggie, we're not supposed to bother Grandma. There's something about an imaginary friend like bothering relatives that's like funny to me, or just like an imaginary friend like, I don't know, doing like normal things. Like you walk in, your imaginary friend's already doing something. I don't know. I just thought that was very fun. Like, Maggie, we're not supposed to bother Grandma, when like you know that Tyler thinks that Maggie's imaginary too.
Yeah.
Half the dolls have been in a terrible accident. They're on the floor, they are smashed, and Tyler is missing from her room.
They need some Advil. They need some milk.
The milk might be where it's at. Susan says that Tyler started talking about Maggie like a month ago, around the time that Grandma Rose got sick, and Susan's like, well, I guess Grandma Rose had a sister named Margaret that died here in the pool as a kid.
And I love that Sam and Dean are like, this isn't, like, they don't say it, but you can see it in their faces, that they're like, this isn't some shit that you would have thought that would have been helpful information earlier.
We said ghosts
like,
and
when
Maggie.
we said ghosts exist, like, maybe, like, you didn't put together at all? Like, hello?
For real. We also see like a doll on the top shelf that looks like Maggie, which I think was a great touch. It also reminded me again of Sarah from Providence, who's the one, like, they used to make dolls out of people's hair, and like they kind of let this case go unsolved at the end, and I think that this doll, like, maybe they should have burned it.
Yeah, because that might have been like her actual hair, and that was what was keeping her in the house and all that. So
it's just like a doll that looks exactly like her, and it's like one of the few dolls that like is totally untouched. It's not knocked over.
I mean, they're gonna
it's
demolish
not
the building, so it's like,
But her spirit's still gonna stay there.
Yeah. Tyler and Maggie are over the pool, and holy shit, this pool building is gorgeous.
Oh, yes.
This is actually an entirely different property from the actual, like, the house. The main house is the Rosemary House, or the Tulk House. It's a famous heritage house in Vancouver, and the pool house is from another property in Vancouver called the Rio Vista, which is like a Spanish colonial style mansion. I love this. I bet you it's warm in there all the time. I would go swimming every day if I lived there.
Yeah. Because it looked like a giant greenhouse, so
yeah, it's like so pretty. I bet you like if you put some like flowers in there, they do super well. Like
yeah,
it's like a 2-story thing. So there's like pool is on the lower level, and then on the upper level there's like walking. You can like walk around. It's like an observation deck, and Tyler and Maggie are on the observation level, and they've like climbed over the railing. and they're just like hanging out over top of the pool.
As someone who existed as a 9-year-old at one point or another, I cannot imagine anyone, even especially an imaginary friend, telling me, hey, why don't you just jump off this even though you can't swim? And like considering it. Like I can't imagine considering it.
Yeah, no.
Like I would have just been like, no. Like what are you talking about? Why I'm not gonna do that.
Absolutely.
Like, I'll come back and visit you, but like no, like I'm not doing that.
Tyler is starting to get scared because she can't swim and she's high up and she's over a pool. And I'm sorry, Susan, but we are going to have a chat in the Call CPS section of this podcast because I have very strong feelings about Tyler not being able to swim.
Yeah, honestly.
Maggie says that she can't go with Tyler and Susan, but she doesn't want Tyler to leave her. And if she just like jumps, then they can stay together forever. And the adults are all coming running, but they can't get in. This building suddenly gets the strongest glass in the world.
I know. Like Sam throws a whole, what was it? What do they call it in the beginning? He throws a whole urn. He throws a whole urn at it. And it's like barely. Like it's barely anything. I'm like, all right. Well,
but they like see Tyler there, and then they see Maggie push her / Tyler fall into the pool.
I don't think they see that. I don't. Because
they don't see Maggie, but like they see Tyler fall, and we see Maggie push her.
Yeah.
Tyler gets out of the pool cover and to the edge, even though she can't swim. Like girl, like was fighting.
She was doing her best. She really was.
Her instincts to survive kicked in, and she was fighting. But when she gets to the edge, Maggie is at the edge of the pool and like holds her under. And then we hear someone call for Margaret, and she leaves. Sam's able to break the glass. The glass was like ghostly enforced.
Yeah.
And he jumps over the railing to save Tyler. Plaster cast be damned.
So heroic.
And like grabs Tyler.
Like not me being a whore again, but he's so heroic.
This is one of my favorite Sam's moments, possibly of the entire season. I think he is such a hero in this moment. He like gets through the glass and he charges over the edge and just jumps in.
Like it's a full like story. He's like, I'll just make this jump. I'll just do it.
There's
like,
a long drop. His cast is gonna get ruined.
He doesn't even think twice about it.
Yeah, he doesn't hesitate at all. There's a pool cover which could be could make it like 8 times more dangerous. Like he just did. He's like, I need to save this little girl, and he just jumps in. And like also like I mean Tyler's very small, and like it's hard to tell like how deep the pool is, and Sam's very tall. But like saving another drowning person, like they will pull you under. Like that's hard to do. But anyway, Sam like gets her out of the water, and
he's dripping wet.
Yeah, very much.
Sorry.
Important details.
Important details, yes.
Dean and Susan get through the other door and like run to the edge, and Sam like puts Tyler like in front of her mom, and she like coughs up some water, and they're like, she's like, Maggie's gone. And then we move over back to Rose and Maggie, who are together again, and they're like negotiating like this is a freaking demon deal, and like Maggie's doing all the talking, but she can obviously understand Rose even though we don't hear anything that's being said. And she's like, I thought you didn't love me anymore. You kept me away for so long, confirming that Rose was doing hoodoo and keeping Maggie away. Tyler and Susan come upstairs because they're like, we're just gonna grab Grandma and we're gonna leave right now. We're not even gonna let Tyler change out of her wet clothes that she almost died in.
Yeah, right.
But they go upstairs and Rose is dead. Sam and Dean were wondering what happened to Maggie, and then they just hear like screaming. And then next thing we know, the coroner's back with the van.
Our bestie, the coroner. We're so well acquainted at this point.
It's honestly a wonder we never actually met the coroner in this entire episode, because they literally made 3 or 4 separate trips to this one house. And Tyler and Susan are getting in a cab. I don't know if Susan just like doesn't trust her car now that it tried to run her over or what.
It crashed into the tree, KJ.
Oh, right. It did crash. I'm surprised that the Winchesters aren't offering them a ride either. Like they're making them take a cab.
Far. I don't know.
But they are not staying in this house, even though Tyler can't see Maggie anymore. The coroner's still here picking up the body, and they're leaving. Like they're not staying. They're not even waiting for the coroner to be done.
They barely even pack. Like they barely even take anything with them. They're like, all right, get in the car. Tyler is magically completely dry.
Yeah. Sam's also dried out quite a lot.
Dry, like straightened. Like she looks impeccable, like a little child model. And I don't understand how she dried that quickly. But okay, whatever.
Sam has also dried considerably.
Yeah.
But Susan hugs Sam, which prompts Dean to make a MILF joke. And first, yes, I did look up when MILF became a popular term.
The MILF joke.
It started in the 90s, but it really became popular in the 1999 film American Pie. That's when MILF became popular.
Okay. Bold of Dean to assume that Sam is not the MILF.
I mean, first of all, yes. Second, it's absolutely unbearable to me how loud Dean's performance of heterosexuality is in this whole exchange. Like, Sherman and Susan both thought that they were gay. So now he's A, making sure that Sam knows that he thinks that Susan's hot, and B, trying to prompt Sam into agreeing that Sam also thinks Susan's hot because Sam also needs to perform his sexuality because Sam's also not straight.
Oh my god.
Like, this is a constant theme with Dean, where, like, Dean is overperforming his sexuality and he's constantly noticing that Sam is underperforming.
Yeah. They're doing their best. They have a lot of drama.
And he is constantly trying to get Sam to perform. He's like, Sam, you need to demonstrate to us that you are straight.
I was literally just watching an episode in season 9 where both Sam and another character make a comment that a woman was hot, and it felt so uncomfortable, so unorganic, and I'm just like, no, don't say that, please.
I cannot picture that scene at all. That brought up nothing for me. No bells rang. But Sam doesn't say what he thinks about Susan. He doesn't say if he thinks Susan is hot or not. Instead, what he says is that's all she needs, which, like, of course we're just gonna assume that damsel in distress Susan is interested in Sam. But also, like, Sam knows that women who get involved with him suffer. We haven't even gotten to Heart.
It's in his seed.
I'm gonna ban the word seed. Jean says, of course, he could have saved Susan and Tyler all by himself, but he wanted to make sure that Sam didn't feel useless. And I'm like, buddy, you're projecting so hard right now. We know you feel useless being here. And also, I know that you're joking, and it is funny, but God, can we please just let Sam have this one heroic moment? He jumped into the pool with no hesitation.
He was wearing boots.
And a cast. He had a cast on. That cast is gonna be just, like, ruined. You're not supposed to get that shit wet.
It's gonna immediately soak with water and, like, be a million pounds. And he was wearing, like, a full coat. He was wearing the sexy coat. Like, he was wearing, like, a full outfit.
Which, by the way, side note on the coat, it is the same coat from the finale.
Good to know.
Maybe I need to watch the finale just for the coat.
Don't do it, Emmy. It's not worth it.
I'm not gonna. I'll look up pictures of him in the coat.
Yeah. The police and the coroner are standing 2 feet behind Sam while they talk about Jean killing Sam. They're just wanted criminals. Don't worry. Dean's only, like, on the FBI's wanted list. It's not a big deal. Like, we're not just hanging around.
Fine. Everything's fine.
Sam then is like, yeah, actually, I remember everything we talked about last night. I'm holding you to that fucking promise. Like, you promised that you'll kill me, and you better fucking do it. The boys then drive away, but we're not done. This is not an episode that ends with a driving scene, because we zoom in on the picture of Grandma Rose and Mary, what did we call her? The nanny?
The nanny.
Yeah.
For some reason, the word wet nurse came to mind, and I was like, no, that's not. Not it.
Completely different.
Completely different thing. Anyway, Grandma Rose and Mary the nanny. And then we traveled down the hall to the playroom where Maggie and Grandma Rose, as like a little girl, are playing jump rope together. And we see the Maggie doll again. And again, I'm like, can we burn the doll, guys? Guys? Never mind, they're gone.
Oh my God.
They've left the building.
They're gone. And then I don't think we ever see or hear anything about them again.
No, nothing.
Maybe someone else, maybe the doll is burned. I like to think that the doll is burned when they demolish the building. It's a very dramatic affair when they demolish the building in my head. They, like, explode it.
Yeah, explode it instead of just, like, knocking it down.
Burns, and then the girls go to heaven or whatever, I don't know.
This is not on topic at all, but, like, what do you think, like, the, like, asbestos content of that building would be? If, like, can you even knock it down or burn it? Like,
that's true.
Probably not.
Well, I mean, I guess it passed inspections and stuff because they were letting people live there.
I guess, yeah. Like, people were living there, and it was a hotel. I imagine hotels probably have, like, air quality.
Yeah, checks and stuff.
I hope, honestly. I know I'm probably gonna get comments being like, actually, no, they don't have to do anything. Anyway, that's the end of the episode. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we get into, like, the segments?
No, I'm good. Oh, wait, I have one thing.
Wait, one more thing? Okay, cool.
Can we talk about the early season slow motion?
Yeah.
Early season slow motion, I have it trademarked. It's so often, like, it's only up through season, like, 3.
I think they should have kept the slow motion or, like, brought it back. I like it.
They did it in so many random spots, too, where I'm just like, that wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
It's an aesthetic choice. No, I totally get what you mean. There was a slow motion where they were jump roping, and I can picture it in my head.
No, I was talking most specifically, because the slow motion while they were jump roping, I was like, that kind of fits, whatever. I was talking about when Sam is, like, resurfacing from the water, and it's, all slow motion, and I was like, alright, that's a little much.
That's a little much, yeah. Okay, I gotcha. I feel like it's like a part of the early seasons. Like,
yeah,
it is the style.
You have to suffer through the early season slow motion.
It's like the no lighting and the slow motion. Like, that's what this show is built on.
Yeah.
Well, in that one episode where Dean saves the boy from the lake, they do the slow-mo there, so they had to do the slow-mo for Sam in the water.
Oh my gosh, parallels!
Yeah.
Frances, you're so
That's
smart.
absolutely it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm good now.
Weekly segments and panels. Let's start with death count. This week we had the mover guy, the hang guy, and Grandma Rose for our on-screen deaths. So that brings our on-screen total to 173. And then the on-off-screen total for this episode, there was those three, and then there was another woman that drowned before they got there, and Maggie.